Welcome to Doug's Open Mic, a podcast spotlighting local musicians, bands, and songwriters.
Hi, everybody. Doug's Open Mic back yet again. Who knew that we keep going this long? Like 4 episodes so far. Got Robert here from Frets. I'm afraid to say his last name because it's so complicated.
Gervasini.
See? That's why. Gervasini. I think I got it now. I got it.
It's not complicated at all, Doug.
Well, for some people. So as usual, we'll start off the show out just tell you some of the Doug certified musicians that are going to be playing in the next week or so, and that you might want to check out. Nick Bossy, who actually was featured in Soundwaves magazine. So he is super good. He is super good, and he's very busy, and good for him. I really like him. So he's playing at the Tamarack on the 8th, and he's playing at Sneakers on the 7th. So that's 2 places that you could check him out on. James Harris, another guy I like very much.
Oh, yeah.
He's playing the 6th and the 9th at the Daniel Packer Inn. And Dan Stevens, today he's got the picking party down in East Lyme, which anybody can just go in. It's just a round table, and they just play your song and then accompany the other people there. It's usually about a dozen people there. And who else do we got? We have, he's also playing at the Lighthouse Inn in London on the 8th. And as usual, the session, which I play in about every other week, down in the London at the Bayou. And again, super good food there. And we start there at about 6:30 till 8:30. So for musicians, that is super early. It's almost creepy, like playing in the daylight,
Yeah.
So just before the show, Robert and I were talking about he's got a Guild guitar, of course. He works him with. So we're just talking about Guild. So let's talk about Guild a little bit, because that's super interesting. So for people who don't know, and Zach would actually be the better one. He's super up on
down at Frets.
Down at Frets. He's super up on Guild history. He worked there, right? I think did he work there?
So the way that I understand his history there was he in the early 90s when he was like 17 or 18, he applied there and they accepted his application, but as soon as he was about to start working there or something like this, they were in the process of being sold to Fender, and Fender got rid of all their electric guitars, and so they were just doing like a small batch of acoustics, I believe. He'll tell you the whole story, but so they just didn't hire anybody. And so so that's part of the reason why Frets even exists in the first place, is because Kevin Desibray, who I don't know these people. This is just through legend. Kevin Desibray, who's a cobbler and owned that cobbler shop down on High Street. He opened up Frets, and he had Mark Wright, who was in the repair department at Guild, and Jacques Blanchette, who was also in the repair department at Guild, as like moonlighting. They would repair. There was a guitar repair shop, but by Guild repairmen. And Zach got in with them when he was young, and he was first an outside contractor. Then he was an in-house guy, and then they were like his mentor, and then he took over the business when I think he was 21 or so.
So back in I also had a radio show back, which was just a YouTube recorded thing though, and I I had an interview with Zach at Fret's.
Oh, you did, yeah.
So in that particular interview, he really goes into the whole history of Fret's.
Yeah.
Very deep. You know?
Yeah.
So and it was a great interview. Fret's, his wife was there, his 2 kids were there.
Oh, nice.
Oh, it was fun.
Yeah, and he's like a guild historian too, you know.
He is.
You know, and he has, fortunately for him, because we're so close to the guild factory, when they were closing up, a lot of, he got a lot of stock from a guy that just passed away, unfortunately, what's his name? It's slipping my mind now. There was a gentleman that just passed away that worked at Guild for a long time. He used to be a neck fitter, and Tugis, that's what it is. Jeff Tugis. And so he gave Zach a lot of the old stock and stuff.
Yeah.
So
back, Guild was very, very popular back in the 70s and 80s. And the vintage, I have a 1972 one, which I just absolutely love. And that one there is, what did you say, 78?
Yeah, this is a D40 from 1978. Yeah. And the previous owner to it is another good local musician, David Dedham.
Oh yeah, I know David.
Yeah. He works over here at the town hall. But
does he? Oh, really?
Yeah. He works in their IT department.
Huh.
Yeah, he's a great songwriter. He's a great local musician. And I bought it from him like a year ago. So I'm happy to have it. It's I had an F30 before, and it took an unfortunate accident.
and you couldn't fix it? You're supposed to be able to fix those things.
Oh man, it was bad. It was I had it on that strap, and I was playing standing up, and it how sometimes the strap button.
Oh, I know.
You know that. So it just fell, and when I tried to grab it, I whiffed, and the body of it hit the ground. Surprisingly, didn't make any damage to the actual body, but the force of the shock slipped the neck out of its joint, and so it needed a neck reset. But the thing with that F30 was it was from Washington State or something. Zach knows more about the history of it, and it already had needed a neck reset, and instead of resetting the neck traditionally, somebody just bolted it back on together.
Oh no.
So Zach had to do a similar fix, but it's still over at Fret's. We use it as like a lesson guitar.
Yeah, I've seen him working on stuff, and I said, "You're gonna fix that?"
Oh yeah. I know.
You're gonna fix that? That's
scary stuff. Headstock repairs, But yeah, no, that F30 treated me well though. It was good. It was from 1980. It was a Westerly Guild, and it treated me well until it took a spill on the floor. So I was without an acoustic guitar for a while. Zach loaned me another Guild that he had, but then the bridge fell off of it, and so so then it was just kind of providential. I wanted a Dreadnought, and this just came into the shop, and so it's good to know the owner so you can do a private deal. So it's good. It's treated me well. I played shows with it. Dreadnought's kind of a big body. I think
that's for people that don't know that the term is, the Dreadnought is basically a term about the size of the guitar,
right?
And Dreadnought, obviously, Dreadnought is relatively big. I think is the next one up a Jumbo, or is that one down?
Jumbo, I think, would be like a much bigger size.
The next one up is a Jumbo, and
as I understand it, the Dreadnought used to be, so Martin obviously developed the Dreadnought first. And as I understand it anyway, it was considered a bass guitar. They used to call it a bass guitar, not an actual bass guitar, but because the register of it was the sound of it was so deep. It was in the sort of had so much low end
Yep.
that we just kind of take for granted. But if you think about it, if you're used to listening to parlor size guitars or concert size guitars, you know, they have a lot of mid range and a lot of high end. You know, hearing a dreadnought is going to be like a bass guitar. You know,
Yeah.
it's
But even within the dreadnought category, there's a big difference between a Martin and a Guild.
yeah.
I mean, Martins
definitely.
are, to me, very bassy. Now, Martins are the guitarist choice for the bluegrass guys.
Typically.
Guild kind of turns into singer-songwriters. Back in the 70s and 80s, I think like Neil Young had a Guild. They were also known as really good traveling guitars. You know, they were kind of, people who used to call them like a tank, you know, because if you're on the road a lot, you know, they're going to get jostled around. And some guitars are more prone to get out of adjustment being jostled than others. And the Guild is, like I said, the tank.
Yeah, that's their reputation, is that they're more solidly built. I mean, they have bigger neck blocks, and so I mean, I again, you know, Zach is the guy to talk to about all this stuff, but they stand up well, and that's why they're popular among like studio engineers and producers. Guilds always be in a studio, you know, wherever you go, because they're just solid. You know, You can rely on them. They don't have the sort of finesse that you would get with some Martins, but they have a nice voice, you know, they really do. And yeah, they're probably they're best, especially in these 70s, where the necks are a little bit bigger. They're meant more for strumming. But when Kim Walker was there in the 80s, or I think it was like the mid 80s, you can find some D40s and D35s from that era that have a really nice slim neck, because they're more for finger style.
Yeah.
We had one at the shop maybe 6 months ago from like 86 or 85, and it's a completely different neck than that one. Same guitar, you know, but a completely different neck,
really?
Different feel. Yeah. The lacquer is not as thick. So, you don't have that like really thick finish on the back of the neck either. So all those things, you know, they make for a you know, for some people, especially for me, because I don't have the biggest hands in the world, that you know, it's nice to have a slimmer neck.
Yeah, so Wesley Guilds are actually still held in high regard because they're not made anymore. You know, the factory shut down. They went to California, Fender bought them. They went to California. Now there's some imports coming in, which rumor has it are better than the Fender California ones, but not up to par to the vintage Wesley ones. But if you were selling a Guild, and it's a Wesley Guild, and you're putting it on eBay, you would put it 1974 Westerly Guild. I mean, then you would put that right in the caption.
Mm-hmm.
It was like this is a Wesley one, people.
Mm-hmm.
Just telling you.
Yeah, definitely. In fact, the one of their import series, I think they're made in Korea, are called the Westerly series. So they'll.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It's like the Westerly series, and they also have the Newark series, because they were in New Jersey at before Westerly, and so they have like a Westerly series. So you have to be careful when you go and buy a guitar versus Westerly series.
Oh,
you
boy.
know.
Yeah.
If it's
that's not accidental.
if the price is too good to be true, then it's probably a Westerly series and not a Westerly.
So the other thing about Westerly Guilds is, it's kind of obvious, but since we live in Westerly, there's a lot of them around, you know, and a lot of them find their way to frets on consignment. So if you're looking
Oh,
for
wow.
if you're looking for a traditional westerly guild, you probably find one at Fretz. Is there one there now?
Oh, there's at least half a dozen there. I mean,
Yeah, see?
there's a D25 there that's really cool because it's a blondie. It's got a blonde top, whereas D25s at that time were mostly cherry red stain, and they had a mahogany top. So this is a spruce top. That's pretty cool. There's a D35 there that just came in from the late 70s. I think around the same age as this. And then let's see. Oh, there's Gino's D55.
Left-handed.
The left-handed though. So there's not much you can do there unless you're left-handed. But that's beautiful. The rosewood.
But I mean, if you're a left-handed guy, the problem left-handed guys have is that their amount of guitars to pick from is very limited. You know, it's like Fretz probably has, I don't know, 200 guitars in the thing, and there's like maybe 3 left-handed ones, right?
In fact, Gino's he had Gino. There's a couple of left-handed clients, right? You know, Clayton.
Yep.
And Gino and Nate Gilman, and they just sort of pass around the same guitars. They sell it to each other all the time. So somebody just bought Gino. He had a Paul Reed Smith that was down there. Somebody just bought that. And so that means there's only one left-handed guitar left in the shop.
So we talk about people playing just for chuckles. I was looking around YouTube for something, and so I graduated high school in 1970. So back in the day, Smothers Brothers was really big, and all of a sudden, Smothers Brothers. I think I'll watch our Smothers Brothers show back from and all of a sudden I go, Tom Smothers playing a guild.
Nice.
Yep. So Tom Smothers was playing a guild because you could
cool.
tell that little V guild song. All right, so give us so Robert's you know what? We'll talk about the tap room first. Two reasons.
Yeah.
Number one, I went and saw Robert at the tap room. Was that last week or 2 weeks? So maybe.
Yeah, it was a week ago from Sunday.
Yeah, a week ago from Sunday, and I'm going to reiterate about the tap room for people that didn't. We talked about it a little bit before, but it's such a nice place for music. It probably can hold maybe 50 people, maybe. At best.
At best, yeah.
At best. So it's small. There's no TV.
Yeah, that's
There's
wonderful.
no TV. This place is about music, and when the performers are playing, everybody listens. Everybody's quiet. There's hardly any talking. Probably me.
That's true. That's true. I was just telling you, I saw Brad Bensko there on Sunday.
If you could, you know what? If you can see Brad Bensko at the tap room, that you should go out of your way to do it. I mean, because it's a small, intimate place, and he's so good, and you'll only be 15 feet from him, and it's a good show. It's a good show.
No,
right?
he was great. I mean, there was maybe 20 people there, but all 20 of them were listening. He shared the story behind every song before he played it. So that kind of thing is great. And he's technically, I mean, he's a Berkeley guy. He's technically extremely proficient. He's a great songwriter. And in fact, I just did some recording with him and his fiancee, Kathleen Parks, who's unbelievable. I mean, she's like, she's something else.
She's something else. Her group these days is Twisted Pine, which I've mentioned before. Okay. But they just played at the Social last Friday with Brett. The Colleen's open for them.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, but I mean, Twisted Pine, a flute, a bass guitar, a mandolin, and
she's
on
fiddle.
Yeah. No guitar.
Yeah,
no guitar. And guess what? They don't need it.
Yeah, they don't need it.
They don't need it.
I haven't gotten a chance to see them live yet, but she's we did some recording. We did 4 songs, and 2 two originals, two of my originals, and two traditionals. I guess you would call them, a Jimmy Rogers song and a Hank Williams song.
So these were basically. So this was recording for you,
Mm-hmm.
and she was just accompanying you.
Yeah. Oh no, I not just accompanying. I mean, she was. I wanted her on it, and
Oh God, if you can get
and Brad was Brad helped with one of the songs with an upright bass. He's an unbelievable bass player.
Oh,
I mean,
know.
he's just.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I know. Yep.
Plus, in addition, he's engineering the whole thing and
Yep.
and co-producing it. And another friend of mine was the main producer. Another guy you should have on here is this guy Andrew Victor, who is from he's originally from like LA, I think, and then he lived in Nashville for a while, then he lived in New York for a while, Philadelphia. He's a touring act. I mean, he's toured all of America. He's toured Europe before. He's a little bit older than me. He's a great songwriter. I mean, he's somebody who can. I struggle to write one song, and he just writes songs like it's like taking out the trash. Like he'll write like 2 or 3 songs a week. I mean, that's unbelievable.
So I don't. Excuse me. I don't know him. If you could get a hold of him. And,
I know him well.
And if
he was going to be here today. I invited him to come here, but
that's right. You did say that.
Yeah. I invited him to be here, but he's currently in Seattle because one of the things that he does is he actually works at Old Man Joe's, and he does the music there, which is good. So you can get I don't know if they're not booking anymore, but I did a couple of gigs there. It's a nice little room. It's a little loud, but when everybody's listening, it's a wonderful room to play in. And he does all the booking there. Like Sandy Sandman, I think, and Gino also played there.
No, Gino definitely played there.
So, so he's great. Andrew's great. I think they'll be booking again in the springtime. I'll try to get some more gigs there, and everybody should, really. All the local guys should. But yeah, what was I going to say? Yeah, I was going to have him be here, but so one of his jobs is he helps his father. They actually run a reverb site.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know the name of it. I should know it, but so they're like guitar brokers.
Okay.
His father runs a lot of West Coast guitar shows, and they will broker people's collections, and some of them through this reverb site. So he kind of helps with that. He helps facilitate that. That's actually how I met him, because he came into Frets. He came into Frets looking for a repair on a guitar that he had, but it was just too far gone. So he ended up buying. There was a really nice J45. One of the newer ones, but really had a nice voice, and he bought it, but he was deliberating about it because he wanted to make sure that if he had to, he could resell it. So, and that's how I found out that
resell a guitar.
Yeah,
you can always resell a guitar.
Yeah, I was talking to Thor Jensen, who's another great local guy. I mean, he's top flight. He's
top flight.
Yeah, he's a world-class act. And we were just talking about this actually the other day. We were texting. He just bought this guitar, an Atkin, which I'd never heard of until he had mentioned it to me. But I did some research on it. Wonderful guitars and acoustic guitars, like a boutique brand. Only a few are made per week. And he was saying, I don't know if it's going to do well, because he was on a tour, but we'll see what happens. And I said to him, look, worst case scenario, you just sell it. And he was like, yeah, I've never, that's the great thing about guitars, is you can just resell them. You'll get your money back in most cases, and sometimes even more.
Yeah. Or a couple times I've had guitars that, for example, go down to Frets, and I'll just throw some numbers out. Go down to Frets and buy a guitar for $500.
Yeah.
Play it for about a year and go, you know what? I'm not keen about it. It's like go back down to Frets and say, Zach, put this on consignment, all right, it's it's still $500. Put $500. 2 weeks later, he calls you up, and it's like, I sold it. Well, I'm going to take 10% or whatever he takes. So it's like no forfeit. So I look at it, it's like, oh, I rented this guitar for $50 for a year.
Yeah, that's a good way of thinking about it. And the other thing is, it's not even just the financial value, but it's also the player value. You played it, you enjoyed it at some point. Yeah. You may even played gigs with it and made money with it. Yeah. So, I've been lucky. I've never lost money on a piece of gear even. I mean, I remember I had a PV Classic 30. It's like a tube amp. And I think I bought it from Caruso used in like 2010 for like $400. And I played shows with it. So I made money with it. And then I just sold it 6 months ago for $500. So,
So before I forget, when you were talking to Thor, is he going to be coming back to Wesley at any particular time?
I don't know.
We need to know that.
Yeah, I mean he drops in because he still has
a show at the United.
Yeah, that was a great show, wasn't it? That was.
You go that one?
Yeah, the trio. That was
an unbelievable
show.
I put that Thor Jensen show in the Twisted Pine show as in the top 5 concerts of my life.
Yeah,
they were so
yeah,
good.
he was great. I mean, it was a great show. That's the reason why I have a Telecaster now. It's because of that very show, the way that he was. Yeah, he was playing some.
All right, let's have a song.
All right.
That's what we need.
Well, what kind of song you want? I mean,
do whatever you.
So, I mean, I guess I can just do some songs from what I've been recording. I can start with a Hank Williams song, which, you know much about Hank Williams or?
Moderate. It's like,
yeah. Oh, he's wonderful. I mean, because that's the thing. Like, I don't think of myself as a full-time musician. I don't think of myself as a songwriter, but what I like to play songs that are old, that people have forgotten about, or they're not in the mainstream anymore, because these are just wonderful songs, like old blues songs and folk songs, like Jimmy Rogers, for example. He is the basis of what we know now as like folk country music. And, he's got wonderful songs that need to be played,
And these old time guys, and back then when they were doing their tours, they were rough. They didn't have like these nice tour buses with DVD players and air conditioning and all that sort of stuff. They was rough and the places they were playing most often would be rough.
And they didn't live very long, That's the other thing too.
They tend to. We hate to.
I was just saying this, that. I forgot who I was telling, but like Jimmy Rogers, for example, he actually got a late start. He worked on the railroads for a long time, and he didn't start recording music and becoming a professional musician until he was 29, 30 years old. And then he was dead by 33.
Yeah.
So, of tuberculosis. So all that whole catalog was recorded in 3 years, and he's, he is he's like the Robert Johnson of country music, right? So what Robert Johnson is for blues music, he is for country folk music. And then Hank Williams the same. I mean, he died at 29. So
I like some of the Hank Williams Jr. songs too.
Oh yeah. And the other thing is
I like him.
Yeah, Hank Williams Jr. Yeah. There's actually Hank Williams the Third.
Oh, well, I haven't heard him.
Hank Williams the Third is, he looks exactly like his grandfather, and but he's got an interesting story. I mean, he's like he's really like into like metal music and sort of punk, but there was a time where he had a record deal with a Nashville recording artist, and he was kind of more straight and and clean, I guess you could say, and he looked like he could be a Hank Williams impersonator. I mean, he looked exactly like it, sounded like him, but he wrote some. I mean, he always writes songs that are very they're always criticizing what country music has become. So he's kind of gotten the outlaw persona.
Oh, I used to love the Outlaws too.
Oh yeah, the Outlaws. Yeah. Willie Nelson and yeah. So anyway, this is a Hank Williams song. This is just a sad love song, basically. Today I passed you on the street, and my heart fell at your feet. I can't help it if I'm still in love with you. Somebody else stood by your side, and he looked so satisfied. I can't help it if I'm still in love with you. A picture from the past came slowly stealing as I brushed your arm and walked so close to you. And then suddenly I got that old time feeling. I can't help it if I'm still in love with you. Well, it's hard to know another's lips have kissed you and hold you just the way I used to do. Oh, heaven only knows how much I miss you. I can't help it if I'm still in love with you. I can't help it if I'm still in love with you.
Well done.
Thanks. Yeah, so he writes really sweet songs like that, and most of them are about heartbreak,
Yeah.
But I don't know. It just I just figure he's dead, so he can't sing them anymore, so somebody has to,
Dan Stevens does that one a lot.
Oh, he does.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. In fact, Brad is this the kind of guy that he is just a gracious dude. So I was sitting kind of in the back, and I was watching his set, and I left, I don't know, 2 songs before he ended, and he saw me leave, and he was like, "Oh, Rob, I didn't even know you were here. Why don't you come sit in?" And so I just sat in, played that song, and that was it. Yeah. So
for you aspiring musicians out there, sit-in protocol.
Oh yeah.
So
Yeah.
So number one, never ask and never expect.
Yeah.
You know, it's never if somebody you know and it's like, don't ask them. It's I guess it could call it just because here's what you don't know, and don't expect it to say, oh, I'd love to play with him. I got my guitar in the trunk just in case, you know.
Right.
It's like what you don't know is two things. One, he might have carefully constructed a set list and was trying to set down a certain vibe. So maybe he's trying to set down like a James Taylor type vibe.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden it's like, oh, there's Doug. He's going to come up here and he's going to start doing Johnny Cash songs. And it's just going to ruin the whole,
Right.
you know, the thing I've been working on all night. He's going to.
Right.
Number two, he goes, oh, there's Doug. I'd like to have him come up. Oh, there's Fred behind him. If I let Doug come up, then Fred's gonna want to come up, and then I got to think. So don't expect it. You know, if number two, if they ask and you go up, play a song and they say thanks a lot, you know, and don't. And then it's up to them to say, "Oh, play another," or they're like, "Yeah, thanks, that was great." It's like, but don't expect it to be a bunch. You know, whatever they give you, just take it, thank them, move on.
Yeah. No, that's right. Yeah. I was lucky when I was a kid, when I was like 14 or 15. Johnny Nicholas, you know.
Yep.
But yeah, he was playing at Blues on the Beach once, and it was raining, so they went to the Windjammer, and he was playing a 330 or a Gibson 340, I think, at that time, but it was playing through this Pro Reverb Fender amp, and I was just I still am into Fender amps, and so I just went up to him and started talking to him about the amp and all this and that and the other. I don't know, we just started talking, and then he's been very gracious to me, and been a good friend, and he always lets me sit in for one or two.
Yeah,
you know,
you know what? To
Whenever
play
he
with
plays.
him is something.
but I remember one time. So with Sugar Ray Norcia,
Yep.
Monster Mike Welsh, who's unbelievable, his guitar player at the time, and I remember I would kind of bug them during their breaks and talk to them, whatever, ask them to play like. Elmore James, or ask them to play Guitar Slim or something. And so Mike Welsh was again really gracious and went up to Sugar Ray and said, we got to have him sit in, right? I'll get off the stage and just have him sit in for 3 or 4 songs. Yeah. And they did that maybe 2 or 3 times, and that was just really nice of them. It's just gracious.
It's just a check. It's really nice.
It is nice, and like I did what you did. I would bring my guitar, but keep it in the car.
Keep it in the car.
Just keep it in the car.
Do not.
And then you act surprised when they ask you, "Oh, really? Okay."
Do not. If you think, even if it's one of your good friends and you're pretty sure that he's going to let you sit in, do not bring the guitar inside. Leave it in your car, because that's just like if you all walk in with the guitar. It's like, hey, look at me. I want to sit in. Here's my guitar. It's the equivalent of asking.
Yeah, exactly.
It's the equivalent of asking.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No, so it's good.
Yeah. So those little benchmarks when you get to sit in and play with good players or good players are willing to play with you or something like those are little like check marks you just say. I must be getting a little better, It's like I must be getting a little better.
I just look at it as pity. Oh, they just feel bad for me.
Could be a little that too.
Yeah, exactly. That's the way I look at it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that's how it all. I mean, if somebody didn't allow that for me, then I wouldn't have started playing live like at 16. Zach used to have a gig 2 times a month. Remember, it was 2 times a month at Perks.
Yep.
And that was back when it was cool to have like a whole band in Perks. We used to have Paul Marcel, who's a great drummer.
Absolutely, no Paul.
And
decades.
Yeah, and Larry.
Larry.
Larry, he was on the bass, and Zach. It was like a little trio.
Yeah.
But those gigs were like 3 hours long. So Zach would always have me sit in for like an hour doing like a blues set, you know, when I was like 16, 17 years old. So if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't have played live in front of people at a young age. And that is, you know, I think that's the best thing to do, because then it becomes very comfortable very fast.
That's why I advocate young people when trying to. Someday I'm going to do a series, a couch to the stage. But part of it, the first part of the couch to the stage is open mics. Go to open mics. And start getting used to performing in public. And you know what? Yeah, it's very nerve-wracking at first, and sometimes things go wrong. But you get used to it. You do it. You know, you do it You do it. I would say like. After you've done it like 5 times, it's like, oh, this is not so bad.
Yeah.
You know, it's like.
And once you make once you make a mistake and realize no one either heard it or cares, and then you're like, oh, okay, this is fine, you know. But,
so it was like, kind of a corollary to that is one time Dan Stevens called me up and to play with him, and I said, yeah, okay, yeah. It's like. So he started explaining to me the whole thing. I was like, wait a second. Is this like one of those things that people pay to get in and they sit in chairs and they don't drink and they listen to you? He goes, yeah. He's like, oh, I don't know. I'm not used to that.
Right. Yeah, exactly. No, yeah. But, and the other thing is too, you know, you play to, you know, Zach and I have played gigs where there's one person there, you know? And it's like, it's fine. Like it's, you know, I mean, for me,
hard.
Yeah,
it's hard, but Brad is good at this and Dan Stevens is good at this.
Yeah.
Is that it doesn't matter how big the crowd is, that they give it their all.
Yeah. And you know, the thing is, you know, now all I care about is people who listen. That's all. I don't care if there's 4 people that show up to the gig. If those 4 people are listening, then that for me is everything, because it's very difficult, especially the songs that I play, a lot of these heartfelt country songs. It's hard to play that to a room that doesn't care, because you have to kind of get into the song, and you know, and so you kind of have to get everybody in the same mood. And that can be tough. That can be tough because some people are looking to just have fun, and I get it.
Some guys, you know, especially if it's especially if it's a bar and it's like, you know, and they got the TV going, and it's a Friday night, so some guy, you know, the guys are out looking to see if they can get lucky, and so they're you know, it's like so.
Yeah, right. But that's why I love the tap room.
Yep.
Because the people that show up there to listen.
Absolutely.
And, you know, I was listening to Brad on Sunday, and I thought, man, we are so lucky that we have this room. In fact, I'll play a song because so I like to. The tap room is special because, as I was saying with Johnny, so at the time he was involved in the Knickerbocker and the sort of resurrection of the Knick, and I'm not sure what his actual capacity was, but I think they were asking him to consult because they wanted to reproduce the old Knick the way it was, like the way it originally was. And so I remember let's see, we were in so the tap room was done first, and the other side was still in studs. And I remember showing up there. I was maybe like 16, and I remember showing up there, and he gave me and my father a kind of tour of what the big room will look like. And then he took us into the tap room, and he gave us some Spezzi. I don't know. Do you know what Spezzi is?
Yeah.
Spezzi is like some
it's gamey.
Some Southern Italian.
No, I don't.
It's some Southern Italian. It's good, but you don't want to know what's in it. It's It's like the worst parts. Yeah, it's like the worst parts of the chicken, or you know. And so I remember he gave us some of that, and he was telling me, you know, he's like, "Oh, you like blues music?" And I said, "Yeah, I like blues music." And he said, "Do you know who Robert Johnson is?" And I said, "No, I don't. I know who Stevie Ray Vaughan is." And he said, "No, forget that. He goes, forget that guy.
What am I gonna do with this kid?"
Yeah, exactly. Forget that. Because Johnny played with Big Walter Horton. He played with Muddy Waters. He went on tour with all these old blues guys that nobody's heard of. Snooky Pryor. I've never heard of him until Johnny told me about him. And anyway, and he said, "Man, you need to know, you need to drop everything and go learn about Robert Johnson. You need to just go figure out who he is." And so, so the tap room's kind of special because that's where that was the place where I started my blues education,
So when the tap room first started, the way I remember it, way back when, wasn't the tap room just a kind of a blue collar bar for a long time? Maybe it wasn't even called the tap
It's
room.
before my memory, because I don't remember it before when it was in rough shape. That's why they wanted to.
Yeah.
That's why they wanted to resurrect it. I know they, like in 2008, 2007 is when they started doing the renovations. I think it opened in 2010.
Yeah.
Before that, I don't have much memory of it.
I think I went in there once and I was like, whoa, I don't think so. All right, go ahead.
I think that's why they, that's why they wanted to change it. But anyway, this is a Robert Johnson song. Well, I followed her to the station, suitcase in my hand. Well, I followed her to the station, suitcase in my hand. Well, it was hard to tell if all my love was in vain, all of my love was in vain. Well, that train pulled the station, I looked her in the eye. When that train came to the station, I looked her in the eye. I was so lonesome, I could not help but cry, 'cause all of my love was in vain. Well, that train left the station, there was two lights on behind. When that train left the station, there was two lights on behind. I felt so lonesome, blue light was my mind, 'cause all my love was in vain. All my love was in vain.
All right, very nice.
Yeah. So, old songs like that.
So you talk about people listening. So when we play the session on Wednesday I actually do it whenever I'm playing with a group. It's like, but the session I can do it a little bit easier because there's usually 6 or 7 people, so I can step out of the circle for a while and they don't miss me.
Yeah.
But I always when I'm playing, I'm looking around and I always pick out. It's like that person's listening, and that person's listening,
Yeah.
and I always go up to them and say, "Hey, thanks for
Thanks.
coming. I see you listening. Appreciate it."
Yeah. You know, that's part of the thing that gained my respect and sort of started our friendship with this guy Andrew that I was telling you about. It was my first ever solo gig.
Oh boy.
And a friend of mine asked me to open for him at the tap room. So I just did like a half an hour, and but it ended up being like he wanted me to just do a half an hour, but then it ended up being like an hour. So I was kind of like at the end, of what I prepared.
Yeah.
And yeah, Andrew was there because he was just listening, and he was the one that was like, all right, that's the guy that's listening. That's the guy that's the guy that knows the songs I'm playing. He knows. And so yeah, he came up to me afterwards, and he thought I was. It was very flattering. He thought I was a professional musician. So he's like, oh, how many you have any albums out or anything? I have none of that. So. But yeah, so that's why he booked me for the Old Man Joe's thing, and that's a nice little room to play in too.
I'm gonna have to stop by there. I haven't stopped by there.
But when the people are listening, like for me, that's everything. Like, cause it's it makes me want to perform well, and it makes me if music is not, what's the point of music, right? The point of music is to make your mind transcend beyond your own individual self. And, so that means, thinking about God or thinking about beauty or, thinking about other people, And so like when people are listening, they're not thinking about themselves. They're just listening to the music, and it's kind of nice. You kind of come together. You kind of establish like a connection, It's so.
So what does it say about me? Is like you're saying about thinking God and beauty. Most of my songs are about murder and betrayal and infidelity.
Well, I mean, yeah, well, but there's beauty even in sadness, right?
Yep.
There's beauty even in sadness. So, that's why I like singing, Hank Williams songs or stuff like that, is because, there's beauty just even in not, the unfortunate tragedy of somebody that you've loved and known that you can't connect with anymore, or there's been betrayal or something like this, or you appear like you just can't get somebody to understand you, right? Like that's sad.
Yeah.
But there's a kind of beauty in the sadness, and that's So yeah, I don't know about murder though. That one's tough. I don't know.
Yeah, but there's lots of songs about it, I'll tell you.
There are a lot of songs about it. Yeah.
So when you were playing at the tap room, Zach was playing with you most of the time. I knew he could play slide guitar. I did not know he could play it so well.
Oh yeah. Well, he can play anything well.
I know.
Yeah, no, he really can. So, yeah, no, he accompanied me on a few, and it's it's returning the favor basically for all the times that he's done it for me, and yeah, no, he's a great player. I've learned a lot. I have learned a lot from him by getting sort of thrown in the deep end. I can remember as a kid being like, okay, Zach, what key is this song in? What are the chord progression? What's the chord progression? And he would say, I don't know, just watch. I don't know, just watch and listen,
Yep.
And, that's nerve-wracking, but I'm kind of grateful for it, because you kind of have to learn.
All right, we're gonna wrap this up a little.
Cool.
So, any gigs coming up?
Not in. Yeah, I haven't booked anything in December. I have one in January with Andrew, and then I have one. I'm at the Tap Room again on February 15th,
All right.
and then Yeah, I'm working on an album with Brad.
That was my next question.
Yeah.
It's like you're recording stuff, so when do
Yeah.
you think that might be out?
The springtime. Yeah. So we did 4 songs in a session. We're gonna we got another session scheduled end of January for another 5 songs, and I think that's gonna be enough for an album. And then I'll get it mastered by somebody, and then, a lot of it's financial. Brad's very gracious, to play on stuff as a friend, but he's got a studio, and it's gotta pay the bills.
Got to pay the bills.
Yeah.
So once you're getting ready to release, come on in and we'll promote that.
Oh yeah, that'd be great. Yeah. My plan is to release it and do get a tap room gig or get a show where I can sell it.
All right.
But yeah, I'll let you know.
All right. So play one more song. We'll just fade out on the song, and
Okay.
thanks everybody for watching.
Yeah, thanks for
I
having
hope
me.
I know we talked about guitars ad nauseum, but that's what we do.
All right, this is an original song, but I just wrote it, so I don't know if I can remember all the lyrics. But you'll fade it out. Don't worry.
We'll fade it out.
It'll fade it out. I'll just do a couple bars of it. But. Autumn leaves are coming. That's when my heart comes calling, bringing me down that lonesome road. But she's there to meet me, straining so deeply, stretching out her hand for me to hold. If I only had this one moment, I would still believe she is heaven sent. I pray to God above me that I remain lucky, and she's always here to hold. When the night is fading, another morning waiting, letting our love unfold. If I only had this one moment, I would still believe she is heaven sent.
Hot summers and cold winters can be unbearable, but D&V Mechanical has the solution for you. As a Mitsubishi Diamond dealer, we provide energy-efficient and personalized comfort solutions for your home. Our experienced technicians will install your new system quickly and efficiently, ensuring your complete satisfaction. Don't suffer through another season of discomfort. Contact D&V Mechanical today for a personalized ductless mini-split installation that fits your lifestyle. D&V Mechanical, your comfort is our top priority.
This month is Gavin's 1-year anniversary here at KMA. I think the biggest change that I've seen in him is his self-confidence.
Really been a good thing to me. I got bullied all through like 2nd grade.
Watching Gavin grow into, a self-sufficient, independent young man. And it's been a wonderful thing to see.
It actually got me wanting to teach here. It's made me not get bullied this year.
We're so lucky to have somebody like Sensei Mike and his team to be working with our kids.